Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, my eyes are popping out of my head. Welcome to HOTFIX. So, as is the way of HOTFIX of recent weeks, I have to start with a feeble excuse. Now, it's so bad, right? I haven't even taken down the green screen, which is up behind me. Usually I move that for HOTFIX, but not today, because I am a man who's rushed off his feet. So I'm going to go into detail on this in a vlog, which I'll put out later on today, or that might make no sense if you're watching this later. But at some point there'll be a vlog where I'm just going to explain what I'm doing. Most of you know that I'm having a special space built so I can transfer all my work into that, and I can get on with streaming, I can get on with stuff, and I haven't got to worry about, let's say, noise pollution, Mr. Kirioth, with certain neighbours and stuff. But until that's done, I'm having a lot of problems because I am working on this. It's like I am the labourer. I'm responsible for sourcing all of the equipment, and I'm not a happy man when you know what? I've got a picture of this, haven't I, Mr. Kirioth? I'm going to find the picture, ladies and gentlemen.
You have.
I'm going to find it, and it's bad.
It is both a funny picture and not funny picture when you realise how much of a sheer pain in the arse it is for it to have happened in the first place.
It is. So before I share the picture, I'll just give you a quick rundown. The situation is I'm having to source all of the equipment and stuff to build this wonderful outdoor office space. It's fantastic. It's like a building. It's amazing. The spec of it is beautiful. But sourcing all the individual parts, I didn't think would be that hard. I thought I could just be like, oh yeah, I'll just get this and get that. But of course, what I didn't realise is I'm responsible for the amount that is ordered. Now, if one grotesquely overestimates how much is required, then one has a problem with costing, Mr. Kirioth, in that one has thrown a load of money away. So you can't do that. So it's actually really time consuming. Anybody who's project managed anything like this, they'll know. I'm a nab and I did not know that. And I thought I could happily carry on working on Unit Lost, which is a 12-hour job a day anyway. So I don't know how I would fit in the other job, but whatever. Anyway, this is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. So as you can see, this is a piece of rubber. Okay, this is what you use for the roof, right? If you look at the rubber, it says 4.04 by 3.8, okay? So that means it's 4 meters long, 3.8 wide. Now, if you look at the tape, I'm going to zoom in through the power of Windows Photo Viewer. You will notice that this actually only goes to about it's about 318. That is not 3.8. You will also notice that over here, there is a space of, well, no rubber. That is because that's where the rubber needs to go. And such is the nature of this rubberized delight, it has to be one piece. You cannot piece it together. So I had a massive headache, and it's really boring. I get that, guys, but it fucking absolutely is world ending to me. So that's why we don't have a guest as well, because I can't get a guest on HOTFIX if I don't know when I'm going to be available, because I'm the fucking host. There is the problem.
Makes it a bit awkward. You can't really say to someone, would you like to be on a show? I don't know when it's going to be recorded. I don't know how long it's going to take. And I also don't know what day it's going to be on either. So, yeah, can you do that? Because most people will go, no, I cannot do that. That involves being available 24/7 for a week. So, no, I cannot do that.
To be fair, though, most people are kind of okay. And they're like, well, okay, just give me a shout. But the thing is, like, I've walked into the room, I've clued myself up on the topics, and then let's go. So I give somebody 40 minutes to respond, and if they're not, then, yeah, go away. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I say, welcome to HOTFIX. And what we're going to do, we're going to go through quite a few topics if we can get there. I'll just switch back to my full screen just to give you a taster, good lord. So the first thing we've got is the order. Now, there's a lot of, well, controversy around this. Controversy, depending on how you want to pronounce that there. And yeah, Mr. Kirioth made a video, but we're going to go into detail on this because the thing which really it annoys me about this is the whole cinematic experience thing. But we'll get on to that. Next topic we've got, which eventually when we get there, is, well, it's Mr. Tim Schafer. Now, this is actually, this is dodgy because he supports Molyneux, and he says the press are being too harsh on him, which is comedy gold in of itself, or in of itself.
He's saying that reaction to Molyneux is way out of proportion. So
just contain yourself.
We talk about the order. Yeah.
Contain yourself, Mr. Kirioth. You see, Mr. Kirioth wanted this as the first topic, but I was like, no, we'll do the order thing first because he's angry. And then I've got a load of tabs which shall obviously support the Tim Schafer, Collapse Fest. Then we've got the Stomping Land thing, which we think we can kind of like segue in at the end of the Double Fine thing, you know, Kickstarter thing. Eventually, will morph into. Basically, the guys just disappeared with like 100 grand. Oh yeah. There's a couple of random tabs like Chris Taylor, but that maybe I'll use that. And this is his new studio, but whatever. Well, it's Wargaming Net bought him out, and it's fine. And then I've got a tab open with Daybreak, which I don't think's anything to do with it, so I'll get rid of that. And that is more Stomping Land. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, it is, and that's unitlost.com. And also, you should go to this is unitlost.com. You should go there. You should join the forums because it's beautiful. And actually, last time we mentioned this on HOTFIX, quite a few people did sign up. It's a place of worth, wonder, and delectable delight. You can see, even now, at this crazed hour of the day, there's like 21 people online. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's constantly active. And it covers loads of stuff as well. It's not just our videos or anything. There's game discussion, groups being made for games. Warhammer 40k, there's a lot of that going down. Absolutely worth it.
It's beautiful, guys.
It's free. I mean, for God's sake. What more do you want?
You know what? It's a really good community as well. Like, I mean, I know Unit Lost community is good anyway, but it's really good. Like, there's some of the discussions that go down are absolutely beautiful, and some of them do feature on HOTFIX as well. So, Mr. Kirioth, I'm going to go into the order now. I do have a web page open, but I mean, I don't think we necessarily need to go there, not yet. So, right, this is where we stand with the order, right? Sony are supposed to be sending me a copy of the order. They have not sent this, but they should have sent it. I should have had it before today, right? What was quite telling, in the email with the guy, the PR guy from Sony, he opened the email with, "We understand there's been a lot of negativity about a certain leaked YouTube playthrough." Okay, they were basically insinuating that their game is good, and you will say it's good. For want of a better word, sort of thing. It was dodgy. I was like, this is dodgy. I just want copies of the game. But they haven't sent the game through yet. It'll probably arrive tomorrow, which is kind of a bit late because the NDA's gone today, and there's a lot of content already out there. So I'm not sure what we'll do with it. I may look. I think I'll play it because you know what, Mr. Kirioth, I am a bit of a sucker. But you know what this is like. This is like it's like the PlayStation's Rise. That's what it's like. You know, Rise, Son of Rome. Yeah. It feels like that. And I tell you what, Rise was a shit game. But I'm such an idiot, I'd sit down and play that. Like, it had a crap combat system. And from what I've led to believe, the Order has got a crap combat system, but it's got a cheesy story or whatever. You can go through it, it's fine, you know, and that's fine. But that's not really what the whole debate around the Order's about, is it, Mr. Kirioth?
Well, it kind of started out with the whole thing of the game being too short. Like, being too short for the amount that they're asking for, which... I mean, when I made the video on it, I did say that, actually, I think that probably $60 or 49 quid is definitely a bit too much for a game. I'd say if it's under 8 hours long. I'm only saying 8 hours because that seems to be the most that I play new games now before I move on to something new. So that's more just like a personal time that I've set there. But the developers, in response to it, they could have said anything they liked. But instead they complained about the fact that they complained that they believe that people on the internet are bullies. And they're taking it out on them. And it's not fair. And it's quality over quantity. And you should be perfectly happy with it because they've worked really hard on it. And, I mean, the guy used the word haterade, which is like, why would you say that? Well, in a professional interview? You know what? I don't even understand why you do that.
At first I was like, what is that? And then suddenly it dawned on me, it is an Americanism, I believe is the term. For their version of Lucasade. Which Lucasade's got real sugar in, and I don't think Gatorade has because it doesn't have that high fructose syrup nonsense in. Well, I'm on a diet, and I'm drinking Diet Coke because it's got no calories in and it tastes better than water.
I drink one of these a day, usually. I don't know, I just do. But yeah, it's a bit...
It's better than Monster, I suppose.
Oh, God, definitely. I had a can of that for the first time in about 2 months. Last week, and
buzzing.
I've forgotten. It tastes like shit. It's awful. It's so sweet. I opened it and I was like, oh God.
Was it just the green one?
It made me feel sick. It was bad. It was bad. It was just normal Red Bull. It was not good.
Hey, hang on, Monster. It was Monster. That was Red Bull. What?
Yeah, no, sorry, it was Red Bull. It wasn't Monster. It was Red Bull. It was still disgusting though. But the thing is, with the Order, I was kind of willing to give it like the benefit of the doubt in a way because I watched part of the playthrough that went up before it got taken down because it was before the NDA had lifted and, you know, you can't really do that. And I have to admit that although I was kind of concerned about the length, from the bits I saw, it looked really polished, like really, really polished. Everything merged together really well. Little things like I know it's kind of hard to tell off YouTube videos sometimes, but stuff like in most games, if someone's got like an impressive uniform or like a long coat or something, there will be a small degree of clipping. No, there'll be a little bit, like maybe the edge of the coat goes through a boot or something. You know, there's just a little bit. You wouldn't notice it unless you're looking for it. But I was like, these guys keep talking about quality over quantity, so all this stuff has to be really good, right? And watching some of that playthrough, there was none of it. It looked really, really well done, which is why I kind of made the video saying, well, the thing is,
Why didn't they?
yeah, it could
Kiri,
be
hang on a minute.
short.
You know, you say about the quality. Why didn't they? From what I remember from all of like the early stuff, they didn't. They kept banging on about it being cinematic and stuff like that. You remember the FPS
Yeah.
thing? I remember the FPS thing because it was like it's 30 FPS. You know, it's that was where the joke came from, wasn't it? It's like cinematic, you know, experience and all this
Yeah.
crap. Why didn't they just say instead, like we're focusing on making the most visually intense experience we can, and
Yeah,
as a result
I
of
don't.
that, we can't achieve like 60 FPS because it's on crap hardware, you know, because I mean the
Yeah,
Xbox One and the PS4, they're obviously better than the PS3 and the Xbox 360, but then you know they're by today's standards, by computer standards, they're pretty
they're
bad.
still behind
Yeah. So
really badly.
you know,
And
and it
see,
would
that's the
take,
other thing as
and
well.
you know what as well, Kiri, it would take a decent computer to run the order at 60 FPS plus, based off what I've seen.
Oh,
You know,
definitely.
just the sheer visual
Yeah.
quality of it. So maybe if they came out and said, you know what, we don't, we're just making it to, it is a cinematic experience, but not maybe use those terms, but just say we're going for like full on maximum like aesthetic design. It's going to look absolutely amazing, but
Yeah.
because we're limited, that's why. Instead of just talking shit, because a lot of their interviews they do
I
talk
think
shit,
that would
and it's
that would
dodgy.
have worked. This is the thing that really gets me because it's like all they really needed to do instead of repeating, we're going for cinematic experience. It's low FPS because we want cinematic experience. Blah blah blah. We want it to be like playing a film, etc. I would have a lot more respect for a developer that came out and said, "Look, we are limited by this hardware, but we want this game to look as fantastic and amazing as possible. So we've lowered the frame rate. We've gone for black bars at the top and the bottom. Partially, I mean, if you wanted to use the cinematic experience argument for that, then I'll kind of allow it. Only just, but I'll kind of allow it. By putting the bars there, we reduce the amount of like rendering required for each scene, and therefore we're able to really push it up. The graphical fidelity is going to be off the charts. It's going to look amazing, and I would be okay with that. If they said that they were limiting certain things to make other things, you know, exceptional, that would be a lot better than going,
It's
oh
more
no, well, we're
honest,
doing it on
yeah.
purpose. It's like it's nothing. Oh no, it's not the hardware. No, we just want it to look more cinematic. And I'm thinking, no, that doesn't work because other developers are say things like it's limited to this or it's limited to that because of this and because of that. Not going it's limited to this because we want it to be because that doesn't make any sense from a development perspective. You don't want to deliberately make something worse than it could be. You know, if you're going all out to impress, all out to look as good as you can, you're not going to say, well, we've willingly chosen to gimp our game. Because who the fuck's going to believe that? It's like, yeah, whatever. What's the real reason? But they never gave the real reason. And then when they kept harping on about it,
I,
they then come out and say things like, you know, they're being bullied by the internet because the game is short when people should just appreciate the quality. Now, I'm sorry, but if
well,
you're asking $60 for a game, the quality needs to be beyond exceptional if that
yeah.
game is as short as the order is. It needs to be you need to walk away with your mind blown,
You know,
immediately wanting to play
this
it
is
through
going
again.
into the
And
realms
that's
of like
not what's happened.
The Last of Us and things like that. You know, that's where it's priced against.
Mm-hmm.
The Last of Us, I thought most people won't necessarily agree with this, but I thought it was a very predictable story. I played the remastered version on the PS4, even to the point of like I was literally guessing all the plot twists. It was so obvious, but it was a fairly long game. It wasn't like a 3-hour game and it's done. And it did look visually quite nice, I thought. Obviously, you know, it's restricted
Yeah.
FPS wise and yada yada yada. But I've just brought up the full screen just to. The reason I have to say this, guys, is because Kiri don't. He can't obviously see my screen. Kind of madness would that be? But yeah, this just outlines what you said about the developers coming out saying, "Oh, I'm being bullied" and all the rest of this stuff. So he says, "This is Dana Jan. Is that a man or a woman? I guess it's a man because there's two blokes in the picture. I'm not sure, but whoever Dana Jan is, a developer, says we have a joke where someone will post on the website NeoGAF or something like, Sony released new screenshot of the order, and we place bets on what post number we think it's going to be the first one where someone says something unfoundly negative. Like, oh, looks like it's going to be another failboat. Failboat, you know. And we say things like, maybe it's going to be post 20, and we see how close we're going to come. I just feel like these days it's so easy to be negative, and I think the internet is a new playground for bullies. So that was where Kiri gets that. Now, there's a couple of problems here, right? In this, you know what? You can compare this to the paranautical activity situation where the dev just went fucking wild. And it to the point of, I mean, okay, he was extreme. He was sending death threats into Gabe, and his game got taken down, and God knows what. But there are a reason why you have PR people, and there are a reason why typically, like if you look at people, right? I've had to learn this the hard way, and I've had to, and Kiri has as well, because we're like creative and we make the videos and we put them out there, but we're also our own PR department as well. So if we make a video and somebody slates us and really hates us for it, you want to tell them to fuck off, don't you? You want to go, get the fuck out of here. You know, we put our blood and sweat into this video. We don't want you just some dickhead coming in and telling us it's shit. Now you take that and magnify it. Like, imagine if me and you worked on a video for 2 years, bloke, and we put it out there and somebody slated it. You'd be angry. You just can't get around this. You would be angry. These devs need to shut the fuck up, because they're out there and they're like trying to defend their game, but they're not defending it in a correct way. They're being childish and immature about it, and it's like, oh, you're all a bunch of bullshit. You don't, like, the internet. I always say it, the internet is the biggest bullshit detector in it. You cannot bullshit the internet. You cannot lie on the internet. You can't make false statements. You'll get absolutely destroyed, because somebody will just Google it and they'll be like, well, I'm afraid you're talking shit, so get out, and then you'll be destroyed.
Yeah, and there's always someone willing to offer an insight that you didn't know could even appear. Like, there's always someone willing to speak from inside a company or inside a department and actually shed light on this stuff. And I mean, the thing that gets me is they keep saying things like every game is different. You know, each game is its own thing. You can't really judge it compared to other games. The problem with that is you absolutely can, because I've said this before, and we both completely agree that gaming is a fucking expensive hobby. It is. It really is.
It's even more expensive than Warhammer.
I mean, console gaming is like that. People like to say, oh, well, you know, PC game costs more because you've got to buy the PC. Yeah, but also you can go on Steam at the right time and get this last year's AAA releases combined for like just the price of one. Sometimes, you know, you can pick up amazing games like 1 or 2 years old from Steam sometimes for a ridiculously low price. Yeah, your console costs less initially, but for a AAA release, you're talking like 49, 50 quid. You're talking like $60, $70 just for one game. Now, you can argue about the fact, I mean, the dev can argue about the fact that the Order 1886 is its own thing, it's its own experience, and therefore you can't really compare it in terms of, you know, other games are longer. But in fairness, you absolutely can, because if you buy the Order and you get 5.5 hours out of it, you've spent $60 on 5.5 hours. Now, if you've got all the money in the world and not much time, that's brilliant to you. That's fantastic. I'm sure people are happy with that. But unfortunately, not everyone has got all the money in the world and no time. A lot of people have got quite a bit of time and hardly any money with which to fund that time. So if they've got a choice between playing a game, like the example that's given in this article for this interview, is the interviewer talks about Dark Souls. Dark Souls can be finished in under an hour if you're fast enough. Yeah, but there's something important about Dark Souls, which is that you can play that game over and over again with different choices, different runs, different gear, different characters, different builds. You can't do that with the Order.
No, it's...
Yeah, you can defeat Dark Souls in under an hour, but you can also play it for like 200 hours and still not have done everything in the game. Whereas the Order, you play it for 5.5 to 6 or whatever, and then you've done it. And then you've done all of it. And yeah, you can go back and have exactly the same experience, but how many people want to do that? It's just... I don't think it warrants how much it is. And I think sitting there and telling people off and blaming them for the fact that your game costs a lot for not a lot of time, you know, invested into it, you can't blame other people for that. It's not their fault that you have priced, you know, your short game is priced the same.
Well, this is what they say.
Another game.
Well, this is what they say. I mean, they say, this is a direct quote. You guys can see it on the screen. They say, I guess I think about it like this. If you go and you eat a steak and you pay $100 for a steak, that tastes like the best steak you've ever had in your life, but it's only 200 grams versus paying the same price for the world's worst steak, but it's all you can eat. I mean, again, that's like,
That's assuming that The Order is the best game you've
Yeah,
ever played,
which is a
the
big
reviews
assumption.
are middling at best. So the reviews are saying it's okay. They're not saying it's brilliant. They're not saying it's bad. They're saying it's
I haven't
okay.
seen any reviews, so I don't
People,
know. But I
they
think
don't want to drop $60 for
no,
okay.
this is
That's not acceptable, is it?
like you can compare it to a load of different stuff, different forms of entertainment and stuff like that, and you can say, well, I've gone to the cinema, that might cost me 20 quid if I go all out and spend whatever, and I'm only getting like maybe 3 hours to be a fucking long film. You're only getting like 2 hours at max enjoyment out of that. Where The Order is obviously going to give you a bit more than that, but as Kiri said, it's not a film. So, well, they might want it to be a film, like we've made it, but it's like it is not a movie, so you can't really compare it to that. It's not really fair. You have to compare it to what's available at the moment. And a lot of the stuff I've read about it, going to the combat mechanics, the game's very bland. It is very much like you said, Kiri. There's no choice or anything. So you go through the game. Well, I think the only thing I've seen was they've got collectibles. So I think they're kind of like Batman Arkham. Well, the Arkham games collectibles, where maybe not even like that because they're Joker riddles, ain't they? But just items around the map, and you just go and collect them in like obscure places where you probably wouldn't go, and stuff like that. But it's I don't know. Like, it could be good, it could be fine, but you're never going to play it again, and you've paid $60 for that. It's a hard one because, like I said, I'm a bit of a sucker for these things. Like I would have played Rise, although I have to say I've got Rise on the PC and I've not played it. So maybe it's just I don't know what that's about. I would have played it, but I haven't actually played it. That's weird, isn't it? Really, well, I've played it a bit. I did stream it a bit, if you remember. If any of you guys remember that, I played it for like maybe 2 hours or so. But yeah, like to me, I think what's going on with The Order is it does look nice, and while I think FPS is king, and obviously I would prefer 60 to be the minimum, I was also okay with Destiny running at 30 FPS because Destiny did look really nice, and I was like, it didn't really take long for me to just adjust back. This is going to sound like total blasphemy, but it didn't take long for me to accept the 30 FPS and be fine with it.
Yeah.
Maybe that was because it was the controller and it's just a slower way of playing, where there's no way I could play Counter-Strike, Global Offensive at 30 FPS. I could not do that. That needs to be insane FPS. Hell, that needs to be over 144 because that's a refresh rate of my monitor. That's what I want to see. But, I was fine with that. And, I think going back to my earlier point, I think I would have been okay if they did come out and say, look, we're essentially making an interactive film because isn't half the game supposed to be cutscenes or something that you can't skip?
There's loads of cutscenes.
That's another thing as well, that you can't skip the cutscene. Now, I'm okay with that if it's part of the game, right? Because who in their right mind would just go, I don't want to watch this, don't get me into the game, and you're missing all the story. Like, I don't get that. I don't get that argument at all.
I used to know someone who would skip
every
cutscene on their first playthrough, and I stopped attempting to play games with them purely because it was like, oh, why is that happening? Well, gee, I don't fucking know. Why didn't you watch the goddamn cutscene and then you might find out?
I don't get that.
I mean, for first playthroughs, I don't get it at all. If you're playing it like the second time through, like leveling a character on Destiny, not being able to skip stuff on that, that's infuriating because there's very little story, and what little there is, you can pick up first time, no problem whatsoever. But the main problem I'm having with The Order is the fact that I could maybe accept the price if it was
the best game ever,
a truly exceptional game.
Well, hell, how long's Portal 2?
It's not.
Portal 2, that was a fucking good game. That can't be long.
Yeah.
I'm just going to guess that can't be longer than like 7 hours or 8 hours. I might get destroyed for that. It didn't seem very long, but that's a really good game. It's a really intensive ride that you're on. And
it's got different, there's so many different mechanics and environments and so on, whereas The Order is kind of the same mechanic and the same environment every time. I'd be perfectly happy if someone just said, look, we're focusing all our efforts on this. That's why the frame rate's low. The hardware can't support it, and we want it to look exceptional. I could accept that. I can't accept we have deliberately decided to gimp the frame rate because we want it to look that way.
Yeah.
I can't accept, the blanket statement that people should be perfectly fine with the game costing so much money because you're paying for a quality experience, especially if the experience isn't that much better than what you get from other games. You can't tell people what they should or should not be able to afford. That's not how it works. There are millions of gamers, and not all of them have got the same income. So making the blanket statement that people are getting pissy over nothing Well, I'm sorry, but to some people, $60 isn't pissy over nothing.
You know what most
$60
gamers
is the
do?
difference between
So,
going out for a month.
well, it
You know,
is.
they've got to.
Me and you and the guys watching this, and the girls. Although when I say guys, that means girls and boys. Um, we are not. We are not the typical gamers. Yeah, the typical gamer is the guy who goes out, or the girl, but guy means girl or boy, and buys FIFA every year or buys COD every year. You know, they only really buy one or maybe two titles a year. They don't buy every AAA release coming out. You know, you see, if you go to places like Reddit and you look at threads on the order, you'll see a lot of people going, "Oh right, okay, it's bargain bin. You know, I'll get it then." That's not the consumer base they want. You know, they want the people who will be like,
Yeah.
"This looks great, and I'll buy it." Do you remember the trailer? There was a trailer. I think it's about 2 years ago, and it was like amazing. It was like, "Holy shit,
Yeah.
what is this?" And it's
Yeah.
like this massive Sony exclusive. It's some crazy steampunk fucking London madness. It looks absolutely insane. It's like, holy shit, what is this game? It had like great
Yeah.
voice acting because it was the bit where they went through the alley sort of thing. It's like, holy shit,
It looked
this was
incredible.
great. Yeah,
It sounded incredible. It was like, what the hell is this? And,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing as well. This game really set up expectations. It's a brand new IP. It's a brand new IP in a setting that really you don't see that many AAA games going for that kind of look, that kind of setting. In fact, I'm struggling to maybe the BioShock series, kind of, for the whole steampunk thing. And even then,
Maybe,
really
well,
only BioShock Infinite, I guess.
yeah.
But like, you just don't see that kind of.
But that
thing
was very
produced
colourful.
to that level.
And in fact, you know what? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Bioshock Infinite was very colourful and it was American as well. This is
Yeah.
London, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
it had a lot of potential, but you can't insult people's intelligence by lying about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you just cannot make a blanket assumption that everyone has got the same the same amount of money to throw on a game. I mean, I would absolutely love it if the Order was the best thing that was ever made, because then you probably could say, well, it's absolutely worth you getting this and playing it. It's incredible, but if you've made a middling game that's okay,
I hate
but
that
still
word.
costs as much as
It sounds like a
games that-
disease. I've got middling.
I don't know what that's the best word for it. I think just like it's just in the it's not bad. It's not brilliant. It's all right. You
I
know,
know.
you can play it. But you couldn't play it for $60, and most people don't want to play a game for 5 hours for
what?
$60.
You know what? So what happened with this is a guy, like an unknown guy on YouTube, just got hold of the game somehow. We don't know. Maybe he got it shipped to him early. It does happen.
Yeah,
And just decided to upload the whole game and was like, oh, it's only 5.5 hours long. There was no commentary on it. It was just like, you can just go and watch the guy play the game. Obviously, he's not skipping any cutscenes because you can't. And maybe he played the game fast. The devs seem to think he played it fast. And I've seen ranges between like 5.5 to 6.5 hours for people playing it, because apparently there's no incentive to play the game on harder difficulties, because this is like alien to me, but with the PlayStation you get trophies when you do certain things, and a lot of people like to get the platinum trophy, which is usually for doing like, I'm going to get this wrong, it's either for doing every achievement or doing like a really difficult one, I'm not sure, but I think it's for completing the games like on the hardest difficulty and doing something crazy, something like that. But I don't think there's any of that in the order. Like, it doesn't matter. You'll still get the platinum trophy if you play it on medium or hard or whatever. Now,
Yeah.
through the combat mechanics and stuff, where they do appear to be very basic, upping the difficulty is just going to reduce your health, increase the enemy's health, and possibly increase their accuracy. So you'll die faster and it'll be a little bit more unforgiving. So it's frustrating. That's not really increasing the difficulty. That's just making them more bullet sponges and you taking more damage kind of thing. It's a bit annoying. But do you think what's happened here is they've had a PR disaster because somebody got hold of the game early and uploaded it all, which they can't control, because Sony are the publishers for this, so they're doing the PR. Now, everybody worth anything on YouTube, right, will adhere to NDAs in place, or you might hear them called as embargoes as well. But NDAs, it's a non-disclosure agreement. Do not disclose until this date information about the game. Some of them may say you can talk about it or do this and do that, but on the whole, they're there and they should be listened to, because they do benefit the industry. But it's a very long discussion to go into NDAs. But this guy's obviously uploaded it. Before that, everybody gets wind of it, and suddenly there is no other coverage of the game out there at this time. And this goes out, and of course it's going to go big on NeoGAF, it's going to go big on Reddit, and it's going to start bleeding into more traditional you know, it's probably all over Facebook and places like that. It's going crazy. It's all over
Yeah.
Twitter. People are like, "Oh God!" And there's no there is no response. It's like just out there, and that's the first thing people hear about the game. So as the devs behind the game, they're like, "Shit, this is not what we wanted," because it's not. I don't think it's necessarily because they want to hide that it's short, but they want people to marvel at how the game looks and that,
Yeah,
you know, the
yeah, I
world
think
we've built. Not, but the problem is now that's it. That's the way public opinion works. That is it. Everyone will now know.
yeah.
It's like Assassin's Creed. It's not Black Flag, whatever it was. The guy with no face, Unity, where he's got no face.
Unity.
That's the symbol forever until the end of time of that game.
That is still what happens. If you see any article about Unity, even about just Assassin's Creed in general now, that's still the thumbnail that everyone uses. That's the opening picture. And I think with the Order, it was a combination of them building it up, saying it's all about cinematic, it's all about this, it's all about that. You know, it's nothing to do with the hardware, it's because we want to. And then for all the talk, someone puts up a Let's Play of it, and it's 5.5 hours. And all of that build-up is then like, so hang on, this is $60. It's supposed to be amazing, but it's really short. What's going on there? And what they should have said, what they should have done, is, I guess, just not even address it. I don't know, just not do what they did. Because what they did was complain about being bullied over the length of the game. And you can't do that. You can't just say to people, well, I mean, you're wrong and you shouldn't be talking to us like that. But there's got to be better ways to do it. There's got to be better ways to get out of that situation. Or even not get out of the situation, at least maybe say, yeah, it's that length because the way we've done it. I don't know. But just don't bitch out the internet for the internet saying, I think your game's a bit short there. Because as a developer, you cannot just sit there and just answer every opinion. You can't. That's not how it works. If we responded to every comment on our videos, we would never make any fucking videos because we'd be too busy replying to your bloody
even if you made the greatest,
3 weeks ago.
yeah, even if you made the greatest game anyway, there'll be somebody who doesn't like it, and it's always the way that the worst comments always stick out. No, I mean, I think number one, the devs should not be responding. They should, what they should have done, if I was in charge, and if anyone wants to pay me 250 grand a year to be their PR manager, I'll do that. I would have said, look, what we need to do, 300 grand actually, no, 350. I would have said, look, we need to now bring back our embargo date to now, and everybody needs to release their reviews of the game because it's the only way we're going to mitigate this in any kind of way. Instead, what happened was they left it for a bit. The devs started moaning about it. Oh, it's not, you know, letting people, the rumor mill go crazy and go into overdrive. And now we're at the point today where the embargo's just lifted, where everybody's going in thinking, oh, it's going to be a bit shit. And this is a game that's cost millions to make, and it's probably going to collapse based off, well, not collapse, but I don't think it's going to do as good as it would have done. Because, well, but then again, you know, the leak is information and it's relevant. So maybe all of the reviews that would come out, well, the reviews would give you information on it as well. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Maybe it worked in the consumer's favour that it did get leaked, and it is actually a short game and for $60. But is that the problem? Like, I remember when I commented on your video that you made, and I was like, I don't have a problem with game length if the game is really, if the game really engrosses me, I'm totally fine with that, and I'd be great. But
yeah,
if I am the guy in the game store with my $60, and I know now that I'm only going to get 6 hours of gameplay out of that, but I could buy this other game, whatever that may be, and I could get a load more. You know, maybe it's got multiplayer elements in, whatever this other game is. Let's just say Halo. I'm going to buy Halo. I'm just pulling this out of my arse, guys. I know that's multiplayer. I know I'm going to get to play that with my friends. We're going to play it a lot, blah, blah, blah. Whereas the Order, no, I'd rather spend $20 on the Order, so I'm not buying it. I think that's going to kill them. I think that's what's just going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I in a way, the dev does kind of have a bit of a point where he talks about how games are different. I mean, like, comparing, say, the Order to, like, Diablo 3, which I've been playing again recently. I've got, like, I must have close to 200 hours in Diablo 3 at this point. And that's not even like, I'm not even like a hardcore player, but I'm a casual player. I just drop in every now and again, and I still manage to get that many hours out of it. I would not expect that kind of playtime from something like The Order, but I also wouldn't tell people that they don't have a right to be upset at the length of The Order because it's supposed to be that long. You know, I wouldn't assume that everyone should have the same income, the same disposable income, the same interest in the same kind of games. You can't use the argument that all games are different and then tell people that, yeah, all games are different, but regardless of that, you should be happy with the length and the price of our game. You know, you cannot do both. You can't take both positions because they don't fit. They don't work together.
You can't tell
it's just,
consumers. You can't go to somebody and go, this is the best thing. You need this. You will like this. You can't. You have to convince them. You can't tell them. And you know what? I've got a really off the wall example of this. Right, Johnny Ive, old Johnny Ive, the fucking design man from Apple. Well, Sir Johnny. He had a go at Motorola, right? And he said Motorola. He just basically said they are terrible. He never named them, but it was Motorola because it's later found out to be. Because in fact, you know what? I've got a really shit phone, right? It's a Moto G thing, right? But the expensive Moto phone that I think you can only do this in the US. You can like customize every element of it. You can pick the different colors, like different back, the material, and everything. He said that's terrible. He said it's the worst thing he's ever seen. It's the worst design ever because you don't let people design their own things. You design it for them. He said it's the designers like basically phoned in his job and said, I'm not doing it. And I was like really astounded. I was like, you are so far up your own arse. You think that what you did, I mean, let's be honest, the design, my iPad's over there. It's just a fucking rectangle. There's no, what's the design? Yeah, it's just but it's
no
like
customization or anything.
But what he was saying,
why would there be an entire market for iPhone cases for a start? It's like, what?
But like what his attitude was really obnoxious, and I thought this is terrible. You know, this is a guy who's just like, yeah, well, we've got the biggest selling handset. We've got this. Clearly, my design's the best. You, as a consumer, don't know what the hell you want, so I'm going to tell you, and this is what you're going to have. And then, hilariously, in the same article, it was on the BBC. He said, "But I do actually quite like the design of Bentley motor cars." Bet he does, because fucking Bentleys are worth quite a bit. And I just was like, "You are a twat." And I used to think he was full of shit when I'd see him on them Apple videos. He's talking about design. Oh, the sensual lines of, he just talks shit like so whatever.
The central lines of the rounded rectangle.
I said sensual.
It's the same stuff.
Yeah. It's like, well, a lot of design's gone into this. It's a millimeter thinner because processors got faster. It was actually nothing we did. Or do Apple make them? No, they don't, do they? Or do they? No, they make their own mobile processor.
Have they actually technically designed anything? Oh no, they designed the new Mac. There was the new Mac. That looks like a bin. Yeah, looks like a bin. That was amazing. That was an amazing thing. People were going, "Have you seen the new Mac?" And I looked at it and went, "I've got one of those under my desk, and I use it to put like bits of plastic off my Warhammer models in. It's called a fucking bin. Why are people impressed by this? What?
I use it to put the order in." Anyway, so right, let's move on with Kirioth. Now, this is something you want to talk about, and I agree. It needs to be spoken about. We had a little bit of a Twitter exchange about this. So, okay, so
Schafer.
Yeah, we're on Polygon, and Tim Schafer. Well, I'm reading the title. Says negative reaction to Molyneux was way out of proportion. Now, there's a video, but I'll just play it, but I'm going to mute him because I don't listen to him. And basically, here's the quote, which I'm going to read it off in full, and this is what it says. In the last few weeks, we've seen some extremely rough treatment of Peter, so he means Peter Molyneux, on the internet and games press. I think it's really unfortunate and unfair. Obviously, things did not go as expected with his game, and because of that, people are making some really nasty accusations about Peter, and I can really relate to that. I bet you can. Believe it or not. That's what he says. And that's his face.
Oh, I fucking believe it. Now, I'm just going to pick up on something here. Obviously, things did not go as expected with his game. And because of that, people are making some really nasty accusations. Some, as he already said, unfortunate and unfair accusations. I don't know how he can have misunderstood the reaction to Goddess as badly as he has. People are not attacking Peter Molyneux because Goddess hasn't turned out to be as good as they wanted. They're attacking him because he got $400,000 after he asked for $100,000. I'm just gonna check this as I say it. He got over budget essentially on his Kickstarter. Hang on, let me just check. Okay, so it's 526,000 of 450,000. So he asked for 450. He got 526. Peter Molyneux blamed Kickstarter for overpromising, which is hilarious because he has overpromised constantly since basically Black and White 1. Yeah. The Fable series has gone down in history as a fucking joke because after every Fable game, he would then say, "Oh, well, that Fable didn't work. It didn't work well." If you look up interviews with him regarding Fable 1, Fable 2,
But the next one will work great.
As soon as the next one is in development has been announced, he immediately does interviews saying, "Well, I mean, Fable 1 didn't work. It didn't work how we wanted it to. It wasn't very good. Fable 2 would be fantastic." Then Fable 2 comes out. Then Fable 3 is announced. Fable 2 didn't work. It didn't work. Well, I mean, I promised stuff and we weren't able to do it. But Fable 3 is going to be fucking amazing. He promised a God game, and what he constructed over the course of like 2 and a bit years was nothing.
A turd.
Nothing. It's in the same fucking state as it was when the project was funded. And Tim Schafer's going, "Oh, well, it's unfortunate and it's really unfair." It's not unfair because 17,000 people gave him money for a game and he has not delivered even the most basic principles of it.
So
all he needed. Oh my god!
Tim Schafer.
Fucking.
Last week, didn't we? He's like Tim Schafer. I'm sure we said that, or somebody said that, and I was like that's why I've got a Chris Taylor tab open, because I think he's the same as well. But anyway, right. So it's unfortunate, is it, bloke? It's unfortunate that you tell somebody you're going to produce something, but then you take their money and you don't produce what you said you would produce, and then you say, "I'm sorry, it's unfortunate." Now, Tim Schafer would know all about this, you see, because this is a game called Space-Based DF9, which the reason why I've got VG247 open is because he basically says, "I'm sorry, well, I can't even be bothered to find the quote. I'm just going to tell you. He basically says, guys, we ain't got enough money to carry on with this game, so that's it. The game's over. Thanks for buying early access on Steam, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Actually, after we said we will, the game will be updated, it'll finish. But then because, we're a bit shit with money, we thought, oh, crap, we ain't got enough money, so we'll just stop." Now, you can say, well, that's early access. In a nutshell, Sty. That could happen. It can. But this is a company as well, Double Fine, which then if I just take you to all these other resources I've got open.
Yeah, I'm looking at a
so the Double Fine,
for the Double Fine
I've just
Adventure.
opened it. Yeah. So Double Fine Adventure. They wanted 400,000. Okay, they made $3.3 million. Now, this was the game that launched Kickstarter as the where you go to get your indie game funded, for example. Now, I don't know why I did that with my fingers, because I'm on full screen. Nobody can see my face. So I'll just keep doing this. You can't see my face, but Kiri can. Well, no, I don't think he looked. Well, did he? Did he? He maybe did.
Me.
I sickened him. So, yeah. What did they do then? What did they do with this? Bear in mind, they've asked for 400,000, but got 3.3 million. So you think
they just scraped it, didn't they? They just scraped it.
Just scraped it.
Close.
So
they only managed 2.9 million more than they asked for, which is like.
So then why did they say we don't have enough money? Well, the article on Rock Paper Shotgun I'm reading is from July the 3rd, 2013. They're like, guys, we've run out of money to make Broken Age. Now, hang on a minute. We asked for 400,000, but we just made 3.3 million. But we've run out of money, guys. We've run out of money.
The thing is, as well, that was July 2013. The project was funded on March 14, 2012. So it took them just over a year
just to waste the money and realise
just over a year.
Well, I say
to spend $3.3 million raised of 400,000 and say, "Oh, sorry, guys, we've run out of money." Who the fuck is Tim Schafer to sit there and defend Peter? It's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's just terrible.
It gets worse. So what does he do? Well, what he's going to do, he's not going to go back to Kickstarter for this game. Obviously, he did go back to Kickstarter and got 1.2 million for Massive Chalice. God knows what that is, but I don't follow it. I don't care. He's going to go to Steam Early Access and sell Early Access to Broken Age. And I think it was light on content. It had less content than it should have had because it still needs to be finished and yada, yada, yada. And that was his solution to that. Then we go forward and we look at what his company is actually doing now. And this is Grim Fandango Remastered. Now, the reason why I want to throw this into the arena is because I think Tim Schafer and Double Fine, I think they are, well, I'm pretty sure it is a very similar situation to Peter Molyneux. This is probably why he defends him. Because if he's got exactly the same personality, I think he's a guy who overpromises stuff and undervalues everything and thinks anything can be done.
God, yes.
And is just turned up to do it. But the reason why I've got Grim Fandango on the screen is because this is an easy way to make money. If you like these guys, Peter Molyneux, let's throw Chris Taylor into it. Let's throw, well, Tim Schafer's in it. They've all made a game or a few games in the past that have been absolutely, I'm just going to go back to Facecam, absolutely like mega, right? They you know, Chris Taylor, Total Annihilation. Good God, what a game. You know, Peter Molyneux, way too many to list. Your Dungeon Keepers, it's just loads, like amazing games that were made.
Yeah.
Tim Schafer, Grim Fandango, all the rest of the other games as well, the adventure games he's made. So they are big names, right? And they've hit gold. But then I don't think they can entirely run a company and without somebody reining them in and telling them what's what, they just get carried away and they overpromise everything. Now, I think Molyneux is the worst by far. You know the rock, paper, shotgun interview? It was just opened with, "Are you a compulsive liar?" It's like, "Good day, sir."
It was pathological.
Pathological.
It wasn't even compulsive. It was
even
pathological
worse.
liar.
"Good day, sir. Are you a pathological liar?" That's not really how you break the ice in an interview. That just puts the guy in defensive straight away. But well,
I thought the rest of the interview.
I thought it was good.
I thought the opening question was questionable. To be honest, it was like if you really want to guarantee someone clamming up, that's how you do it. You know, because you'd just be like, I said on Twitter, it's like, if someone opened an interview with like, "Are you a fucking wanker?" You'd just be like, "Fuck off!" You just hang up. You wouldn't even say anything, would you? I mean, it was risky. Technically, I guess it paid off, but it was fucking risky.
Well, it was. I mean, like I did like when I seen it, I was like, "Whoa!" And then I sort of laughed, and I thought, that's what I would ask him, but I wouldn't just straight up say that to him. That
yeah, I
at the
wouldn't
start.
Just go straight into it.
But I want to know
Peter,
why he's a
how
bullshit.
Are you? This is what's his name from RPS. Are you a massive, horrendous liar? Like Peter's just about to say hello back. He's like,
"Oh Lord!" He's like, "No," as if he would say, "Yeah." "Why, yes, I am. I lie all the time to make money off poor and suspecting victims." Anyway, yeah. So like these, I just think like. They're re-releasing Grim Fandango to make money, right? They must need money, yeah? They, what was that game? What was the game with the rock guy? That flopped as well, didn't it? It was an Xbox game.
Yeah.
I think it's on PC now, though. Again, re-released to try and make money, I think. Oh, God. Brutal Legend. Brutal Legend, that was it. Brutal Legend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're re-releasing Grim Fandango to try and make money. Do I think Double Fine will be around in the future? I don't know.
I think they'll.
I'm not sure.
But...
Well, they might have to reduce this. They might have to do like a Sony. I guess you could throw Sony into the boat as well. Well, I say Sony. I mean Sony Online Entertainment or Daybreak Games, as they're known now. Which actually, I'm just going off on a massive tangent here, but I don't even care because Daybreak, they fired Higby, who is the lead game designer of PlanetSide 2. Now, I think he made dodgy decisions for PlanetSide 2, and a fair amount of people do. But he was the lead designer of the game, and they just fired him. It's like, well, that's dodgy. The worst one, though, David, oh my God, what's his name? Gregorson. He's basically the EverQuest guy, right? He's been in charge of the EverQuest franchise for a long time at Sony. They fired him, and he was in charge of Landmark and EQ Next. And now I don't think you will see those two games now anymore. I think Landmark will probably get closed down.
No.
And because I think they've just made too much money off H1Z1 and realised they can fleece people who are clearly idiots and will buy things like airdrops for loot and also pay to get into certain game modes. Anyway, back to Tim Schafer. So, yeah, Tim Schafer.
But yeah,
what the hell?
I don't think... I mean, he says, I'm not saying that developers like Peter and I shouldn't be responsible and accountable to deadlines. I'm just saying the reaction to recent events and the tone of that reaction is really way out of proportion to the seriousness of the events themselves. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Schafer, but I fundamentally disagree with that.
And I do, yeah.
The guy took £500,000 and the better part of 3 years to produce nothing. It's not out of proportion because he failed to deliver on every single point. He did not deliver a game that does even a half of what he said it would. He completely managed to screw up. The guy, the poor bastard who won Curiosity. I mean,
yeah, he got kicked in the bollocks, basically.
The God of Gods forgot us, which is now a game that will never be completed. He will never see anything from it. He had one fucking weird day where he went to see them, at which point he played the game for 3 hours and then was completely ignored for the rest of the day. No one kept in touch with him. And Peter Molyneux's response was, "Oh, well, the guy who was looking after that left. I assume someone else would be keeping up with it." Well, according to the guy who won Curiosity, within about 3 months, there was no fucking contact. So unless the guy left immediately, what's the fucking excuse? And then he just goes, "Oh, I should have checked up on it." Maybe you should have
Oh
checked
right,
up on
yeah,
the
because
fact
you're
that
the
your
boss of the
game
company.
was supposed to be released like 2 years ago, and it never fucking came out, and it's nowhere near completion. It's not. It's not out of proportion. It's
No.
not. It's downright theft. He took money from people. He used the money to make a shit game that doesn't do what he says it would. It's never going to be completed because he's abandoned it and moved on to something completely different. And he's left the fucking intern and like 2 other people in charge of implementing the rest of a game, which still has multiplayer, it's still got combat, it's still got a hub world, it's still got everything to be fucking put into it. And Tim Schafer's like, oh, it's a bit out of proportion. No, fuck you.
No, he's an idiot.
It's not.
I don't know why he said
Tell
this.
that to the people. Tell the people who donated to Kickstarter, like to the Kickstarter. Tell the people who gave Peter Molyneux all that money that they're overreacting when they've received none of their rewards and none of the fucking game that they pledged towards. Tell them that.
You know why this is so
doing.
bad?
It's like,
You know why this is so bad? Tim Schafer's company primarily makes its money off Kickstarter. Well, it funds new projects from Kickstarter. Peter Molyneux is a complete disaster. He overpromises. He's not following through on Kickstarters. You do not want to associate yourself with him, right? Because that is the way for you to come out and say, oh, it's fine. Like, essentially, what he's saying is it's fine that he hasn't delivered. It's fine. This is a guy who's got multiple Kickstarter projects funded. And if I was a backer, I'm not, but if I was, I'd be like, well, this is fucking worrying to me. Because people who back these things, they follow the news. They're not your average Joe gamer off the street. No, they're people who are like into this, and they're going to follow
you don't
this.
stumble
Where's Chris
across
Taylor?
A Kickstarter.
Not
You
Chris
look
Taylor.
for it.
I'm obsessed with him. Star Citizen Man. What's his name?
Oh, Chris Roberts.
Chris Roberts. Everyone's called Chris. Well, he's not come out and said, oh, Molyneux's getting unfairly treated, is he? No. Why is that? Because he's got $70 million. and yeah, he's not going to come out and say that, is he?
Admittedly, I fear Star Citizen is going to suffer not the best fate because of terrible feature creep. But on the other hand, they've said that they'll release these various modules, and they've been releasing stuff that they've said they'll release. Whereas, what has Tim Schafer done? Took $3.3 million from a $400,000 project, squandered the money in a year, and then turned it into an episodic series.
You remember when they
still
had
going on today? I mean,
Elijah Wood is the voice, isn't he? He wouldn't have been cheap. You know, I remember actually there was a bit of controversy about that, where it was like, why are you spending all the money on like some Hollywood actor to voice it? Why not just get somebody with a decent? But you don't need an actor to like that. Would have been a lot of money. You know, guys, it would have been a lot of money to get somebody to do voice.
Really
or maybe did he do it for free? I don't know. Don't think he did.
I did it for free.
I think he did it for free.
It's just. I think, to be honest, it's very worrying, frankly. It's worrying that someone who, frankly, I wouldn't say is quite as bad. He's still bad. He's still bad for it, but not quite as bad as Peter Molyneux. I mean, at least Broken Age did eventually get released, and it's still being released now. It's not like it's abandoned and it's not going to be finished, because I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says. God, this is never going to be finished. It's never going to be finished. It will never be the game that Peter Molyneux said it would be. It's not even going to be close. The fact that, though, someone who is just as big in that industry is prepared to try and defend someone for completely screwing over their fan base and their audience is just unbelievable to me. I cannot believe... How can you, with any shred of self-respect and knowledge, actually sit there and say, oh, people are being a bit harsh? No. Someone needed to fucking... step in and tell Peter Molyneux to stop fucking about.
You promise to do something, and you say you're going to do it, and then you don't do it, and somebody's paid you for it. I don't know how these people can sleep at night and just think, oh, no, it's fine, it might have failed. It's like, no, you've took the piss there, you've took their money. What I've got here is it's a Double Fine forum, and this is what I remember this happening. So this was the VGX awards that happened with that twat of a host, whoever. I think he's some American comedian, but he was terrible. He basically asked him live. He said, "So, how much you paying Elijah Wood?" And he just sort of froze up at the time, because it's like, oh, he kickstarted, but if he is just a guy who knows fuck all about games. I mean, bloody hell, it is bad, guys, and I don't know. It's delusional. It's very delusional to me. Again, going back to it seems to be like PR has been a theme of this thing, but he's like image there to associate himself with Molyneux. I mean, maybe he's done it just out of like they are two, they're similar age, aren't they? They're from the same kind of generation-ish. They're they're from the same, like, I guess, gaming background to a point. they were making games at the same time, the same era.
Yeah.
You would know, like it's like I know YouTubers who started when we started, and I but I wouldn't necessarily go out and just defend them based off that fact alone if they did something so terrible that would
I wonder
damage
if it's
me.
not something about the old, like they're the old guard of gaming, aren't they were at the forefront. They were like the wave that saw games become kind of what they are today. And I wonder how much of it is not down to actually thinking about what he's saying or thinking about what he's defending, because he's defending taking people's money and then not delivering. That's what he's defending. He might not think he is,
while he's also taking people's money and hasn't delivered the final product yet.
Money and not delivering. Yeah. I wonder if it's just a case of thinking that the old boys have got to stick together. I can't let the internet slam Molyneux, because what if they come for me next?
But the internet is the biggest bullshit detector. That's why it's slamming Molyneux.
Yeah, and that's why it's going to be slamming Schafer now, because I'm never going. If someone wanted to sit there and just take money and do nothing with it, or just lie and make shit up constantly, and then say, "Oh, sorry guys, it's not going to work." I don't care who it is. It could be Molyneux again. It could be some guy we've never heard of before.
Queen.
I would still call them out, and I'd still tell them they were fucking terrible for it. It doesn't matter who it is. It shouldn't make a difference. The fact that it's a person that should not make what they've done irrelevant, which is what Schafer's doing here. He's writing off the fact that Molyneux fucked over like thousands and thousands of people just because it's Molyneux and he's his mate. So I don't want people to be mean to my friend. No, fuck him. Fuck him. He's been harsh to everybody else by taking the money and not delivering. So why shouldn't people be upset about that? Everyone's got a right to be upset at someone who is just basically just sold them out for no reason other than incompetence.
I suppose
incompetence, but
well, yeah. I mean, does it come down to? I mean, we don't know what the friendship is. I mean, you obviously you should defend your friends, but when maybe it's just a business relationship on that level, you wouldn't. You have to look after yourself. And I just think it's a PR disaster from him. But we had him pegged as a guy who was like Molyneux, and like I think Chris Taylor was the same. In fact, I know he was the same, because you remember the whole thing with Wildman. It was just terrible. Yeah. And he was like making these videos constantly about it, and he was like basically begging people for the money to make it. It's like, whoa, this is really like cringeworthy what is going on. But of course, like his studio was going under because he had no money. They started to. Well, an interesting thing about him is I don't think Supreme Commander or Supreme Commander 2 or Forged Alliance or even the Xbox version made any money. I think they were all loss leaders, which I think is bad.
Yeah.
Because that was such a good game. Well, Supreme Commander 2 was shit, but the other two were good. But he was going under, and Wargaming.net, of course, they're the guys behind World of Tanks, so they've got a shitload of cash. They set him up.
Has he even done anything since he
joined
Wargaming.net?
I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're developing something. I don't know.
Because there's the Wild Mind disaster where it's like, well, our studio is about to go under, so let's start a Kickstarter for something that no one understands and hope that it saves us, which was a shit idea.
Yeah.
And then
you know what?
Him up, and beyond that, I've just heard nothing from the guy again.
Well, I think I remember at the time the Planetary Annihilation had just come out like a few months before the Kickstarter, and I think he was kicking himself over the fact he didn't do that. So he just came up with this really It's like it was almost like he just dreamt up. It was supposed to be like a Diablo-esque game where you're just a fucking caveman basically, and you could build a little base.
It was really weird.
It was like a lane pushing game with, but it was shit. It was like, why would you play this? It looked crap. It sounded crap. It's just not going to get funded, and it didn't get funded. In fact, I might have made a hotfix on it. Yeah, it just collapsed.
We did. I remember we did it.
But,
we made a hotfix on it because it. But I mean, for me, the entire thing. This entire thing is just summed up with Schafer saying, "I'm not saying that developers like Peter should be responsible and accountable to deadlines. I'm just saying the reaction to recent events and the tone of that reaction is really out of proportion to the seriousness of the events themselves."
How serious does it have to get until it denotes a reaction?
That speaks of either horrendous ignorance or willing blindness as to what's going on, because it's not out of proportion. The guy fucked over his entire fan base and all the people who bought or kickstarted his game, and then washed his hands of it and walked away, and then said, "I'm not talking to the press anymore." So he abandons it, makes no more, does last round of interviews. Apparently, he's never going to talk to the press again. Essentially, washes his hand of the whole ordeal and just goes. And Schafer's going, "Oh well, the way people are treating him is really bad." The way he's just treated everyone who had anything to do with Goddess is fucking shameful. He should feel ashamed of it, and he clearly doesn't because of the way he's reacted to it. And Schafer's defending him. It's like
he's making the trail, isn't he? That's what. And he kept going on about that in that interview. He's like, yeah, but the trail. He was like, he was basically promoting that game. Well, he was getting the name out there. It wasn't going, oh, he does this, he does that. But you know,
he's not. He doesn't feel any. I don't think he feels any shame.
There's no remorse. It's nothing. It's just like, I don't care.
He's just gone, oh well, it didn't work, and it's like that's not fucking acceptable. That is not acceptable. It's not acceptable for the people who bought it on Steam. It's not acceptable for the people who bought it on mobile, and it's extra bullshitty for the poor people who bought it on Kickstarter, because people pledged a lot of money to that game. They pledged a lot, and
if this happens with Star Citizen, that World War III will start.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure someone will actually.
It won't though. You know. I think it is that kind of is a bit too big now to collapse. But I think what's going to happen with that, it's kind of in a situation where it's already got all these extra features added on that'll eventually be met. It's like everybody knows what the next 10 years of Star Citizen is going to be, right? With all these, it's like you already know what the expansions to the game will be. So when it comes out, there'll be a bit, but it's like, yeah, but I know that next year the ground combat will be in, and then after that this will be in, and then after that, I think that's what's going on with that game. But I don't know. Hopefully it's okay because I am kind of looking forward to that. But Mr. Kirioth, we've got another link here into Kickstarter. Now this is the Stomping Land. This is
I mean, I kind of saw this today when I was just sort of looking around, and it kind of fit in a bit well with, because before HOTFIX we were sort of saying, you know, Tim Schafer's not exactly great to talk about Kickstarter either, as well as Peter Molyneux, and this kind of, again, it's sort of tying into a bit of I guess a nasty trend for Kickstarter, and essentially Stomping Land was it was a game where you were like a Neanderthal caveman type. And you had to survive in a world that had, you know, dinosaurs everywhere. And it got funded, obviously, because the game was released and then put on green light.
It got funded because it says multiplayer survival and dinosaurs in the description.
Well, yeah, there's also that. 4,427 backers, $114,060 pledged of 20,000, which, I mean, for a no-name developer, for a completely almost no-name game, that's not bad, really. And he worked on it, and this is the weird thing about this one. He worked on it, and then he disappeared. Like the main developer for the game.
Was it like a year of development? Then just nothing.
Yeah, it just stopped. It was funded on June 6, 2013. There was like a good solid year of work or so, and then that was it. He was just gone, and it wasn't like he announced anything. The lead developer. He just disappeared because it's been left to a freelance artist who has been doing work for the guy, you know, like model and texture work. And he was hired to work for the Stomping Land, and he stopped work on the game last month. He says he can't reach its creator, who still owes him for work already completed. This follows several months of concern over a lack of communication from Fundora, the guy who is supposed to be making this, and his studio Supercrit on the game's progress. So it's just gone. He's just left. Well, that's it. It's like, what? He's just vanished.
I think there's a couple of things which could have happened here, right? So the first thing is he's either got worried, or for some reason it's just become too much for him, and he's like, I can't handle this no more, and he's stepped away. Now this did happen with I'm just going to go full screen, well, face screen. This did happen with that Minecraft voxel rip-off game with quests in. Good God, what was it called? Wait, it's third person.
Adventures?
No. God, what was it called?
I know what you mean. Cube World.
Cube World, yeah. That the guy turns up, gets a shitload of money because we played it and it was fairly polished what was available, but there wasn't much content. He's going to make it.
It was kind of interesting.
It was. He's going to make a load of money. Blah blah blah. Well, he made a load of money off his early access plan, and then just disappeared. Now. It's a bit different to Kickstarter because people are not funding him, to make the game. They just bought what was available at the time, which was the deal, and he might develop it or not. But he just disappeared, and there's been I think there was one tweet or something in the last 2 years or some shit. But that made a ton of cash. Could be the same situation for this. The guy could have thought, you know what, this is getting way too much for me, and I can't handle it, so I'm just going to walk away. And it's people do this sometimes. They just have an extreme reaction and they just cut everything off.
Yeah.
They just right, that's it. No, I'm walking away. And they just go and change their life or they do whatever. That does happen. Another
Part of the
well, go
problem
on,
with
Miss
this
Curie, go
though
on.
is it's still being sold. It's still available on Steam. You can still get it on Steam Early Access for $25. Well, $24.99.
That's my other point.
So
Let's
is
see
he
if-
just taking this money? Is he
well,
just taking it?
oh God, I nearly dropped my coat. I think this is a more likely thing. So we'll go back to the website. This point here, where it says sabotaging camps built by other players that contain food. Now, obviously, that insinuates that this is a multiplayer game, and it's a multiplayer survival game, and it's a game with crafting, with survival, with God knows what in it. That may be over and above the remit of our friend Mr. Fundora, who's got an amazing name for going on Kickstarter. Come and Fundora me. Maybe he's just I don't know who he is, but let's just guess. Let's just say he's a game programmer, but he doesn't really know that much about network stuff. So maybe he had a lot of like additional costs coming in for things like network infrastructure or stuff like that. Maybe he didn't realize how much he had to pay the artists because we spoke about the artist guy. A lot of funds, and I don't think 114,000 is actually a lot of money for this type of game. I think that is not enough. And what might have happened is he's sitting there and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's obviously an intelligent person. He's wrote out a very detailed budget. He knows what he's spending, but he knows that he can only spend for 12 months and then that's it. He hasn't got any money left, right? So how can he make more money? Well, you can't go back to Kickstarter unless you're Tim Schafer, can you? So it's like, well, what can I do? What? Let's go. You missed my amazing reaction there, ladies and gentlemen, because I was on the website thing. It made Kiri laugh anyway. But, what do you do then? Well, the only way you're making money then is selling the game through early access on Steam, isn't it? Which is why it was on early access. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you can buy it. And he was maybe hoping that he would get more sales, maybe make another 100, 200,000 off that. I don't know how it works. And obviously, it looks like he hasn't. Therefore, I have no money. I cannot carry on with this. So goodbye. Yeah. And he doesn't want to, again, another way to look at it is some people don't like failure, well, nobody likes failure, but like to admit, an admission of defeat, to just say, I tried, but it didn't work, could be very humiliating. Well, it is in public. I say it takes a big man to stand up or a big woman to stand up and say, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake. It didn't work out. I think backers they wouldn't accept it, but they'd have to accept that. But just to disappear, it's like, that's not good. Especially when it's still on sale. No, that's not good.
And I mean, I think if he disappeared and the game had disappeared from Steam, I think it'd be kind of a different story. But the fact that it's still for sale is in a way almost a little bit scary, because that implies one of two things: either he is still receiving the money for it and he's got no intention of coming back, but he is still going to profit from it.
Yeah.
Which, of course, that's horrendous if that's the case.
But it is horrendous. But it also, early access is you are buying the game in its current state, so it's still not technically like fraud or scumbag behavior. Yeah. Well, it is scumbag behavior, but it's not illegal in that sense.
But it's also kind of, in a way, sort of suggests that he's not even checking that. Like, he's doing literally nothing with it.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings its own kind of worrying connotations. But the main thing for me is just that it seems to have been a bit of a shitty couple of weeks for Kickstarter, because it's all very well when like a big... For some reason, when Peter Molyneux completely collapses on Kickstarter and Goddess fails, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. But somehow I feel more for the people who I guess have put their money into things like the Stomping Land, because this is a true unknown. Like, this is absolutely an unknown. You don't. This is just something where people have seen it and gone, I really like the idea of this. I don't know if it's possible to have more of a gamble than gambling on Molyneux, but it's a big step, especially to give things like $90 or $400. One of the pledge tiers is for this game. And 5 people pledged $400 to this game, and they don't have the game. They've got an early access version of it, but there's no sign of it ever continuing. The creator has gone completely dark. There's no one knows where he is, what he's doing. He's not responding to anything. I don't know. It's weird. It's a bit unsettling, and it also leads me to wonder, like, how many of these Kickstarter projects need to never be delivered on for there to be like a massive repercussion? Because somehow, even though Molyneux is like the biggest collapse so far, it still somehow hasn't killed off kickstarting games, has it? It's still a
Well,
thing.
I
It's
think
still
people still like to if there is a genuinely good idea, people do still like to show support, and it's like, yeah, I will support that
yeah,
idea. The problem is a lot of the people who are putting these ideas forward, especially for games, appear to be people who have been denied access to a publisher and then come up with a
yeah,
reason why they're not going to do it. But why would a publisher reject a game? I mean, it would be interesting to be sitting around the table of, or be the guy who's in charge of selecting whatever games get published, but will get put in front of somebody else that published it to get published. But if they're rejecting it for probably monetary reasons because they don't think it's going to cost too much to make or something like that,
yeah,
or it won't sell enough copies. It's generally money focused, I'd say. These people then are like, well, I can go to Kickstarter. Or maybe those people don't even go to a publisher in the first place and they're just like, well, I'll go to Kickstarter. Because Kickstarter
yeah,
is an easier option. Because let's think about this here. To pitch a product on Kickstarter, all you've got to do is you've got to record a video, which you are essentially doing on your own, let's say. You've got to write a nice page up, which can take a long time over. You're not going into a boardroom and trying to sell your product to somebody. It ain't like Dragon's Den.
no.
And you're like, please, Deborah Meaden, give me 70 grand for my fucking manure mixer.
When are
I
we
don't
going
know.
on Dragon's Den Block?
I'd be too good. But what would we sell? Hi.
Warhammer
I'm
Wednesdays. We want £100,000.
yeah.
So we can collect and paint
Well,
Warhammer models.
We're going to make an amazing Warhammer show. And they're like, well, what's the market audience for this? You're like, well, thing is, the average gamer of this spends about £20,000 a week on it because it's so expensive. So you have loads of money in it for you. But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of speculation as to what's happened to this guy. I mean, you could go the other way and just say, well, maybe he's had some sort of disaster and he can't actually get on the internet or something. That could have happened.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe he's
I
been
think the other
abducted
thing
by
as well-
aliens. We don't know.
That's actually something that I kind of felt was worth bringing up with this because all there is a lack of contact. Like people can't get in touch with him. I think quite often when you hear about stuff like Kickstarters failing or early access games going offline, nothing happening to them for months, the assumption is that people have taken the money and run.
Ran off, yeah.
And admittedly, there's no evidence to say that that isn't what he's done. But also, it would be kind of nice if instead of the instant assumption being this guy's a thieving bastard, there was like I almost feel like there needs to be some sort of voice of reason, kind of.
Well,
Going,
hell,
can we not?
I'm a
can
good
we not
example.
judge until we know the story? It's like
Yeah, well, I mean, my like development is a fluid process, so there's going to be ups and downs. I know with my office, it should have been built. Well, it is built, but it should have been finished and ready for use about a week ago, or maybe even a bit more. But there's been delays with stuff. That happens, and it's like, well, okay, the project's pushed back further. These things do happen. But the most worrying thing with this guy is the fact that there is no communication. It doesn't really take much to just say something has happened, so this. So that's why people do straight away think, you know what, he must have ran off for the money. So I don't know. Kickstarter. I think we'll wrap it up. But Kickstarter is. There'll be a lot of people saying "I told you so" about this. What's going on? I mean, I would have bet money on Molyneux collapsing on Kickstarter. Jesus Christ. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we'll see more stuff come through. Although I do know the money being spent on Kickstarter is much less than it was. I think it's gone through its like heyday, and now it's sort of just.
I wonder if a part of that is how many people get burned by projects that never come to fruition. Because at the end of the day, it is. They do make it clear that you're funding an idea. Like there may not be a product. You are funding an idea. You're pledging money. It's kind of technically a donation, but you get a reward for donating. At the same time, you can only do that so many times, and only take so many projects that haven't worked or that people have abandoned or something's happened to before people start to think twice about looking at this stuff. Like they might see a Kickstarter they like the look of, and then think, well, out of the 3 I've backed, 2 of them haven't come to anything. Do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
And on the one hand, I think that's bad because I think there can be some amazing things on Kickstarter.
Well,
but on the other hand,
Darkest Dungeon, that was a Kickstarted game. Look at that. That is a great example of a game which is fucking good. that wouldn't have happened without Kickstarter.
But I don't know. I kind of, in a way, I'm completely in two minds about it. I've always kind of worried that stuff would go wrong and people would, get hello dog. The things would get, cancelled, or people wouldn't get what they asked for, what they pledged towards. But on the other hand, I've always thought as well that there can be some amazing stuff on there. There can be really good ideas. And you want to fund the good ideas, but avoid the bad ones. But how do you even do that? There's no way to know until after
you won't be pledging to Molyneux
met its goal
anymore. So he's screwed on Kickstarter. Well, yeah. Like, do you think you can
get
burnt though?
Don't pledge to Molyneux. Don't pledge to Schafer. Those two. Just don't do it.
Do you think you can get burnt and then like recover, and then start going again? So the first waves come in. You've got your Double Fine. You've got your Star Citizen. Everyone's going crazy. They're all splurging, and then you've got your games starting to be made. Yeah. So you got Planetary Annihilation, which I think's a bit crap, but could have been really good, right? But it's just, I think just the way the game works is it just doesn't really work. I mean, it's a good idea on the scale, but it just doesn't really work. It's dodgy. But would I have felt burnt with that? Not really, because they were problems I couldn't really have predicted. They still produced the game. Okay, it was delayed, but they still gave you the game that you thought you were going to get, which was a game on planetary combat. One of the problems you got with it is because it's a ball, you can be attacked from everywhere. You can't like defend an area. There's no choke points. Like the planet is the choke point, and it becomes a bit too easy to just blow planets away. And like if you fortify a planet completely, it's very difficult to get into that planet. You need to like launch asteroids at it and fire the big Death Star at it or something crazy. So it can get stalemate or just end real quick. And also the online for that game is just a spam fest of shit units, which I guess it was for Supreme Commander kind of. But you couldn't really have like good games against your friends and stuff, because it would just end up in a stalemate, or it would end up, but whatever. But I don't feel burnt by that, because they were problems which you would only find through the game actually being produced. And it's like, okay, they did give me what I wanted, that's fine. But Goddess did not give me what I wanted. If I bit back that, I'd be fucking raging. Double Fine come back and said, well, we made 5 times what we wanted, but it wasn't enough money, so we need more money. And it's like, and what they give you isn't the finished product. It's like, Jesus Christ, there's a lot of...
I think it very much depends on... I think, to be honest, it depends on how much you backed. Like, say if I
But does it though? Because if you're... What is the difference between a $4 backer and a $10 backer? A $4, there was $6 would be the difference there. A $400 backer and a $10 backer. If the people who are dropping $400 on an imaginary product which isn't complete, they have got some serious disposable income. So to them,
I guess actually
maybe $400 is just $10.
That thing of different disposable incomes is going to really dictate it anyway. So I know personally, the only Kickstarter I've really piled money into was Star Citizen. That's the only one I've gone above and beyond, and that's because at the time I looked at it and I basically saw my years in freelancer basically coming back and looking better than it ever has before. Having played Elite Dangerous, I feel like I actually should have backed Elite Dangerous, but I didn't at the time because the Kickstarter didn't impress me at all.
No.
But having played it, I feel like maybe I should. Then again, it fell off really quickly. So if I had backed Elite Dangerous, I don't know how happy I would have been.
Elite's an interesting one, because Elite should have had things available now. Like, you should have had the Wingman update in January. We're now at the end of February, and it's not until March it's going to hit. Might get delayed again. They've had a lot of delays like that. I wouldn't be necessarily bothered, because I put about 150 hours plus into that game easy. So I'd be like, okay, it's fine.
I think perhaps I wouldn't be that happy.
I'd be let down.
Be burned.
No, I wouldn't be burnt. I'd be like slightly slapped a little bit, because I got bored of the game after my 150 odd hours, which sounds ludicrous, but I did. I when you get to a point where it kind of happens with any game. You could even like games where you can sink like thousands of hours in. I guess use bloody WoW as an example, or any MMO where you get to the end game and you realise that all you're doing is going through the bosses and waiting for the next expansion to come to do the bosses again, to do it again. You're not really getting anywhere, so to speak. When you I came to that realization quite quick with Elite Dangerous. I was like, well, all I'm doing is going to the mining sites to kill people, because that's kind of the most efficient thing to do. And that's, well, I say people, I'm killing NPCs, and it's a bit, I want to play with my friends, but I can't. But we can if we try and meet up, and then we, but again, that's how I wanted to play the game. So maybe other people have got different ways of playing the game. But Mr. Kirioth, I think we'll end it at that. So we've gone over in a massive load of detail the order and how they should not let the devs just go around saying what they like, and the devs should not bullshit us
Absolutely
about
not.
cinematic experiences. And I am looking forward to playing that game, hopefully tomorrow if it does arrive.
I think it's
But
going to be
I
interesting.
don't know, like I said, if I would have bought it with my $60 or 50 quid or whatever in my hand at the time, because I now know the length of the game. But I'm in a unique position, so sometimes you got to take that into account when you listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Then we went into Tim Schafer and went into him all right, and his buddy, Mr. Molyneux.
No. Just say no.
Just no, yeah. And then went into more failed Kickstarter with the Stomping Ground madness, and then we had a rant about Kickstarter. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said at the start, I apologise again for no guest, but it is very difficult for me to do this. Hopefully you do see the vlog I throw out, which it isn't going to be a long vlog. I'm just going to tell you what's going on. I hope things get sorted fairly soon, and then I'm back to normal. Because it feels, like I was saying to Kiri, it feels weird. Like I don't feel like I'm doing any work, but I am. You know, it's like usually I'd be doing more work than I am doing on Unit Lost Light. But I kind of am still working on it. But
yeah, it's still technically it's behind the scenes work. Behind the scenes. In the open where it's cold.
Anyway, I think you'll find that I'm winning the internal view war this week, unless you can pull out 25,000 views out of your bag.
You cheated with that bloody.
You've got to explain what this is.
Selfie stick video.
Nobody will know what I'm talking about.
We have an internal view war for essentially individual videos where
it doesn't count if we're both on the video.
Yeah, we make we do the videos together. We also do videos ourselves separate, and there's essentially an individual view war. So whoever's video gets, or combination of videos, because I've just changed the rules because I need to with the hope of catching up to the fucking selfie stick mod, and whoever has got the most views at the end of the week wins. Now, normally that's fine. I mean, I won last week. Decisively, I think you'll find.
Well,
so I was happy with that. But then,
but I won the week before, and then I won the week before that, and in that same week, there was, in fact,
Which one was that?
No, hang on.
Oh, yeah, no, you did. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
you've got lucky.
I've got lucky.
Recently, son.
I've destroyed you, bitch. Anyway,
but this week, I was all ready to go into the week.
Yeah,
all ready to go in. But this fucking Doom selfie stick mod video appears on Sunday night of all time, which is technically the start of the week. And
we go Sunday to Sunday.
Gathers nigh on 25,000 views at this point. So before I'd even made a video this week, on Monday, the selfie stick mod video had 15,000 views. I mean, what is that? What's a man to do when faced with such odds?
Well, my favourite video from last week was... I
suspect I won't be catching up there.
Well, you might do. I mean, like, I'm looking through it and I'm not even showing you guys. I mean, if you look at it, right, I mean, Kiri, like, so that's the selfie stick he's not happy about. His goddess video, that was the victory that he brought him the victory last week. I tried with the off-world trading, didn't I, on Saturday. It was a late effort.
Which, it was...
Not bad.
Fairness, it was fairly close. It was
not bad.
Close. Only a couple of thousand behind.
Also, guys, we don't give a shit what views the videos get. It's just funny. Like, there's no way we make the videos to get the views. It's just like who wins. It's stupid. Then the next week, I think we had.
Oh yeah, no,
you might have won that week. Did you win that week?
The week before. Oh yeah, you didn't make a video, did you? Yes, you did. Yeah, because you did Battlefield Hardline.
Oh, so I did.
The same week.
Yeah.
Oh no, you did. Yeah, because I had the mystery collapse, which has remained a mystery, and we've had a look. The Nintendo Creators Program video.
Oh yeah,
which
views.
Which, for no reason, it's exactly the kind of content we always produce. It's the same, it's the same opinionated stuff. It's the same explanation stuff. It's on a current hot topic. Nothing. Just absolutely nothing. It just disappeared instantly, which is a bit random.
Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I won, and then the next week, I believe I got 60,000 views or something. So I won again. And then the next week, I think I probably that was H1Z1.
I think we're back
so...
into H1Z1 territory.
Yeah, then
which, to be honest, if we added that onto every week, you'd probably still win.
But in that week,
because that's at like 150 now.
But in that week, I also did another video which got 35,000 views on its own. So, Mr. Kirioth, the conclusion from this is you're fired.
Yeah, not happy with it.
But it is. But yeah, guys, like I said, we just do it for a laugh. There's no like. I mean, if you go out to make videos for views, you're never going to make any decent views. If you go out and make videos on things you find interesting, then it's like the golden rule. You need to enjoy what you're doing and do it because you enjoy it, and then you know that's it. Anyway, this has been like I should have ended 10 minutes ago, but we just talked a load of shit about our internal view war, which Mr. Kirioth is the reigning champion of. But if he pulls back this week, I'll be proud of him. But it doesn't count adding them up. That doesn't count. That's a dirty trick.
It does. It counts. It counts.
Yeah, I've not been able to make you dirty beggar. Mind you, the Mac or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been HOTFIX. It's a show of worth, magnificence and wonder. And as soon as I get my stuff sorted out, we will have guests back on, and it will be live streamed again because we did stream it, didn't we? And it'll be in a live stream slot because I like streaming it because it works out streaming right. Because you guys on the YouTube channel still get exactly the same experience when you watch it, and the stream just get to see it live. So there you go. All right, guys, we're out of here. You know who we are, so we don't need to tell you that. And go and follow us on Twitter and all that good stuff. And we'll catch you next time, people. Toodaloo.